Welcome back, students. I am going to present basic HTML code in this video. I will explain to you how we use the plain text editor that we downloaded in Chapter 2, which was called Notepad++, or perhaps if you're using Mac OS, you downloaded Text Wrangler. In either case, you can create HTML documents that you will then store on your computer and have your browser, and I do recommend that you download and use the Firefox browser for this, or Google Chrome. I find that students have problems with Internet Explorer, so either Google Chrome or Firefox are the best browsers to use for the assignments for this section, Chapter 4. Okay, so let's get started. Basically what I want to do is open up Notepad++, and I can do that on my computer a couple of different ways. Down on the taskbar, I actually have already pinned the Notepad++ icon, so all I need to do is click on that right now. If you haven't yet done that, though, so that it's on your taskbar, another way to start Notepad++ is to go over to the Start orb, and then when the window for Search Program Files shows up, you just type in the name Notepad++, enter, and then it'll open a new blank instance of Notepad++. Basically, this again is a text editor, a plain text editor, which we will create basic HTML files on so that you can learn how HTML, which is the language of the World Wide Web, how it actually works. So to start off, let's just type in something simple like this is CSC 101. I hope you let's start with that. You will enjoy this course. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this, but I need to save it as an HTML file. So I'm going up to the File menu, and then when I select Save As, I'm going to first choose the location on my computer where I want to save this file. I'll choose the desktop. And then the name of this file will be index, I-N-D-E-X, all lowercase. And then the type of file I want to save this as is not as a text file, but rather I'm going to click on the drop-down list, and then I'm looking for hypertext markup language. And notice that it assigns .html to the file name. I'm going to go ahead and save that now. And I'm going to go to my desktop, and I will find this document that I've just created. It has the icon for Firefox, the browser Firefox, because I've associated HTML files on my computer to work with that particular browser. If you have Google Chrome installed on your computer, you may find that your index file has the icon of Google Chrome on it, because all HTML files are associated with Google Chrome. And finally, you might have the Internet Explorer icon on the file because all HTML files are associated with Internet Explorer. If that is the case, you'll want to be careful to change your file association for the HTML files so that it opens with either Firefox or Google Chrome. Again, I think you'll have problems if you use Internet Explorer. Real briefly, I'll show you how to do that. You right-click on the file, in this case an HTML file, index, and then go to Properties, and under Properties click on Change, and then here you can choose which browser you want to have HTML files automatically associated with. And again, I have mine associated with Firefox. You could also have it automatically associated with Google Chrome, but you probably don't want to have it automatically associated with Internet Explorer. Now this is assuming that you've already downloaded and installed either Firefox or Google Chrome onto your computer. Okay, so that's set. What I want to do then is I'm just going to double click on index, and it will open the Internet Explorer, or I should say the Internet browser, Firefox, and it will show the two sentences that I've typed in earlier in Notepad++. So essentially what happens is that you create your HTML documents with a plain text editor like Notepad++, and then those files that you save as HTML are opened and interpreted by Firefox as to what the web page is supposed to look like. So since we're working with both Firefox and Notepad++ basically at the same time, I'm going to use the split window feature of Windows 7 so that I can share the two halves of my screen with these two applications that I'm running. Again, Notepad++ is used to create the encoded HTML files, and Firefox is being used to read and interpret those files. So the main way in which you format HTML files for the browser, or the way that you do that, is to use something called tags. And just to demonstrate what a tag is, I'm going to go back to my index.html file in Notepad++, and I'm going to add some code that's embedded into these two sentences. I'm going to go in front of CSC 101 and I'm going to type in angle bracket B. That is the tag to embolden text. So this is where it starts to embold text, and I want to use what's called the closing tag, which is angle bracket /B, in order to identify for the browser where I want it to stop emboldening text. So let me go ahead and save this. I'll go back to the Firefox application and refresh it. And what I see now is that the letters CSC 101 are emboldened, highlighted, and that's the first example of what we're doing with HTML. Notice that the angle bracket B isn't appearing inside of the browser window. It's interpreted by the browser window as to how to format the text. Let me give you another example. I'm going to italicize the second sentence, and so I use angle bracket I to identify where I want the italicis to start and where I want it to stop. I'll do /I inside the angle bracket. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I'll go back to the browser side and I'll refresh the browser, and you'll see that the second sentence now is italicized. So this is the concept behind HTML, is that you use tags in order to describe to the browser how to format the text or graphics that you might have in your document. Now the next thing I want to show is the way in which you can format the document. You have to be very explicit about it. For example, I'm going to put in a new line character so that I can split the first sentence from the second sentence and have a blank line in between. And the issue here is that it looks right inside the text editor in terms of what I want. The problem is I am not actually describing this line break and extra blank line in between the two sentences. I'm not actually describing that in the HTML document. Therefore, it won't be interpreted in the Firefox browser the way it looks in Notepad++. So I'm refreshing the Firefox browser, which rereads the file, and you can see, of course, it did not put the line break in. So what you have to do is, again, explicitly put those in to the HTML document. And that is a tag that looks like this: angle bracket BR/angle bracket. And basically this is a singleton tag. The first two tags I showed you are a pair, opening and closing. This one is a single tag, or what's referred to as a self-closing tag. It doesn't need a pair, it only needs a single one. And what it will do is it's going to put a new line in between the first and the second line. I'll go ahead and refresh the browser. Oops, I have to save it first. See how the red icon here is showing me it's not saved? So I save it over here in Notepad and then refresh the browser. Okay, so it gave me the new line that I wanted between the two sentences. What I need now is a blank line. So in order to make a blank line, basically I have to go back and add 2 of these BR/ characters. Save and refresh. And now I have my blank line. So again, everything you want to happen over in the web page, you have to have some tag telling the format of what you want to have happen in the HTML file. Alright, so that's the basics of how you set up HTML and how it works. So what I want to do is I basically want to start fresh here and show you how to create a proper HTML document with the required tags. So to create a proper HTML document, you start with a pair of tags called the HTML tags. And the opening HTML tag, of course, identifies where the document starts. And the closing HTML indicates where the document ends. Anything in between, and we're going to put some stuff in between, is actually making up the HTML document. Now, before we move on to more tags and adding more content between the opening and closing HTML tags, we do have to make a modification to the opening HTML tag, because we are using a specific form of HTML called XHTML, which means extensible hypertext markup language. This is a stricter form of HTML than the original HTML code. It is a better code to learn because for one thing, you can validate the code to make sure when you're all done with your definition of your web page, you can validate it to make sure that it will run on all of the major known browsers that are on the market, like Internet Explorer and Firefox and Google Chrome and other browsers. So that's one of the big advantages of using this particular form of HTML. Again, it's called XHTML. Now, in order to identify that that's what we're doing, you have to go back to the opening tag, and inside the tag, after the letters HTML, we're going to put in something called an attribute, which I'll explain more about attributes later. But what attributes do is they modify the tag. So I'm going to use an attribute called XMLNS equals, and then in double quotes, I'm going to give some information to specify the type of HTML that we're using. I'm going to type in http://www.w3.org/1999, and slash XHTML. Now, it isn't important you necessarily know everything about this particular attribute. Just understand the basics. Why we're putting it in is because we're using a particular form of HTML, and that's why this attribute is important. Okay, so continuing on. Inside now, between the opening and closing HTML, I'm going to put in the two main sections of HTML document. And you do this by using the tag head and close head. And this is the area of the document that basically sets up the document. Preliminary background information is set up in this area between the opening and closing head tag. And we will explore this more as we go along, but for now, just to give you some example of what goes here, I want to create a title for this page. So I'm going to use a pair of tags, title, and then what I want my title to be for this page, I'll call it my first web page, and end title. All right, and this will be again a title that will pop up on the tab of your web browser. You'll see in a moment. There are again other preliminary things that go inside this, but we'll come back to that later. The next section is called the body, so I'll use a body tag and a closing body tag to identify where the body of the page starts and where it ends. What goes between the opening and closing body tags are the tags that make up the document as far as what will be seen in the browser window. And it will take us quite a while to go through all of the well, we're not going to go through all of the tags, but it'll take us a while to go through enough of the tags for us to create a meaningful web page. Notice too that I'm using tabs to indent inside of each of these sets of tags. It isn't required for HTML. It's only required because I, as a human, need to be able to read the HTML document, and it's easier for readability if you use indentation. Makes it a little easier for me to understand what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm at the body section. So what I want to do is I want to just put some text in to show up on the page. So I'll put in this is my first web page using XHTML. Okay, so that is the document. This is the sort of minimum what you need to create a HTML document. I'll save this. I'll come back over to the browser side and refresh the browser, and of course I'm seeing the information that I've defined to go in the body section, but also you can see in the tab area that I am using the title tag from the HTML document to identify what the name of this page is. Okay, so we want to go back now and do some things with the body of the document. So we talked about things like embolding and italicizing. What I want to do is talk about some things that we can do to create headings in our document. So what I'm going to use is the what we call the H1 or heading tags. I'm going to put some information in here. This is heading 1, and then I'm going to end heading 1. And I'm going to do this again with heading 2, and then I'll just say this is heading 2, and that's the end of heading 2. Do this a couple more times. Heading 3, this is heading, heading 3. Alright, so that's good for now. You'll get the idea of what's going on here. Oops. Close heading 3. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I'll refresh the browser. Basically, there are 6 different levels of headings that you can use, and you can see each of them is a little smaller than the next. And then, of course, you can put information into or under the heading. Like, for example, I'll move the first line of the code that I created earlier so that it's actually inside the heading. There we go. Save this. Alright, so under heading 1 this is my first web page using XHTML. So you can kind of, again, use H1 tags in order to create headings inside of your document.